All right, we're into the latest podcast. All right, I have got my latest interview with Gary House. All right, he is based in Wales and he's going to introduce himself and tell you all things about running. Is going to be the topic we're going to be discussing here today. All right, Gary, you fill the listeners in. You tell them what you do, small bit about yourself, and a little bit of your background, my man.
Yeah, I'm based in North Wales. I'm firstly a running coach these days. So, yeah, it's all online, but I haven't kind of things like we've got about 200 members in my coaching club now. So it sounds a lot, but kind of, yeah, the way I do things is a little bit different. So I try and educate people in running. It's just not like training plans and all that kind of thing. So it's good fun. Yeah. But it's took a long time to kind of get to this point.
Building it, yeah.
Yeah. But like I still compete to a kind of decent standard myself, and yeah, I just spent about 15 years being obsessive over running, and the more and more I got a bit better at it, and I was a personal trainer and things like this, but I only attracted runners, so I only worked with runners and things like that.
I thought you said women there. You only attract women. And I was like, well, that's no problem. I don't mind that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, marketing wise, people used to say, didn't they? You like just go for one gender or whatever, but it didn't really work with me. So yeah, that's kind of I've been self-employed from age of 21. I just couldn't be employed by anyone. But before that, I was a hairdresser. So I was a hairdresser, and then went straight into running coaching, pretty much. Yeah.
One end of the spectrum to the other. So you must have like unbelievable hair. Any hair tips for me?
Yeah, just keep it as long as you can. It's just.
I love it. I wouldn't mind if you're after telling me you're a hairdresser, you're sitting in front of your laptop with a cap on. You're gonna have bad hat hair, man.
Yeah, I've been running for 15 years, and I've just had a shower, so yeah. I've always got a cap on these days, but it's really weird. Like I've got no interest in hair these days, which, yeah, I don't know why I would. Yeah.
Wait, all right. The first question I'm going to ask you in relation to is like, for you being a runner and a running coach, like, what's your nutrition and what's your training currently like at the minute? I know it's kind of snowing where you are right now. It's a bit mental.
Yeah.
Like it's like the second week of February here now, and you're telling me it's snowing out.
I ran this morning in the sunshine in kind of shorts and t-shirt with the dog. Now we've had about 2 inches of snow in about an hour. Yeah, but I'm like just under 400 meters up high over there. So once it's on the snow line, so if snow's coming, it just hits me quite quickly. But yeah, training wise, I'm lucky because I coach from home now. I basically train like a full-time athlete. So yeah, so I kind of just made my work fit around the fact that I wanted to do that rather than the other way around. But when I did it, I was young enough, didn't have any responsibilities or anything like that. Whereas now I've got like family, house and all that kind of stuff. So I'm lucky I did it at an early age. But yeah, I train up between 90 and 100 miles a week in the hills. But like food, quite quickly, I realized that food was kind of part and parcel of this running mark. I'm quite I go down black holes of like information kind of thing, you know what I mean? So it was running at first and how can I be a better runner, but then I quite quickly found out that like I need to sort my food out. I can't just have sorry. I don't know if you can
swear. You can curse, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I can't stop swearing sometimes. But like I lived in a shared house in Manchester and they used to call me Gary Tuna because I would just have tuna pasta every night. And I thought that was cooking. I was just throwing fucking tins of tuna at everything. Because
protein, you need protein.
Yeah, well, yeah, I moved out. I was 19, didn't have much money, so tuna and dry pasta. I thought I was like, yeah, Gordon Ramsay at the time. But,
that's very interesting. So from the tuna and the pasta, how has your diet improved, and what are you currently doing, and what do you pass on to others who are doing running? Because I'm a big believer in the foods that you eat can have a direct result on the way that you look, feel, and how much energy levels you have. And that's why my background is organic fitness and it's kind of promoting the likes of people eating organic, but it definitely whole foods, single ingredients, fresh, local, if at all possible. That's kind of my key note.
Well, yeah, like quickly looking at your stuff was really interesting because it reminded me of like when I first got into running, say it was like long distance trail mountain stuff. And the guy that was coaching me, he's a guy called Lee Saxby, and some people know him, some people don't, but he's like a little hermit that lives off grid, and he coined the whole. He was like heavy into the barefoot and human movement and all this kind of thing, but his thing was he was self-sufficient, so his just lived on a farm, to the point where he kind of like turned over his own soil and all that kind of stuff, so everything organic, and his obviously knowledge base was far and above what I needed, but it was him that really started off this. Well, I really need to look at my nutrition. I call myself, if you're going to label it, I've been like 90% vegetarian for about 7 years, something like that. I still have the odd Sunday lunch with friends, and I won't say no to a beef dinner if I know it's a nice beef or something. But at the same time, I don't go down just pretty vegetarian these days. I'm married to a vegetarian, but a bit like you, like it's hard these days to understand like the quality of food is like I guess you can tell me more. You go into a supermarket and it's labeled organic. Like I know enough to know that there's varying degrees of organic and things like this. But I just try and promote the basics principles of nutrition for runners, and then try and if they want to know more, hopefully I can back that up a little bit. I
So
can't
what
remember
was
it.
we can...
10 years ago I went down the whole nutrition route, and I was kind of going on courses, and I spent time at if you've heard of Martin McDonald, I was under him for a while, so but it's stuff that I was getting taught on personal trainer qualifications, and even higher qualifications of that was just all bullshit. I knew it was, kind of thing, because I'd already had training, like unofficial training from mentors, I guess. It's just, I was just my own interest. Like I wanted to be healthy, I wanted to do better at running, and it was like this food thing was opened up a whole new world for me, basically. Because up until then it was just like sausage sandwiches in college and uni and all that kind of stuff. So it was quite exciting to know that food could make a big effect on things.
But that's so important, the point you just touched on there. Sometimes people try overcomplicate it when they're not doing the simple things. If they started, one of the typical first questions I ask individuals, like, what are you eating for breakfast? Tell me what you're having for lunch. Tell me what you're having for dinner. And don't think about, are there perfect carbohydrates we should be eating at certain times and a certain amount. You clean up your diet, you have a healthy breakfast, and healthy is different for everyone. You have a healthier lunch and you have a healthier dinner choice for you, sourcing it from single ingredient foods, and you will improve from where you are now. Don't think too far in the future, just make small improvements, and you'll see a result in your energy levels will be increased as a result of that. Doing the simple things kind of on a regular basis is really kind of overlooked because it's not sexy. It's like, give me this tablet, give me this exact time, give me this exact measurement of how much protein, how much to consume, how much carbohydrates to consume. Hold on now, I want to be a vegan, or I want to be I want to be on a paleo diet. You tell me how much of this to eat, and I'll be strict. I'll stick to it. They need to kind of find out for themselves, trial and error, what suits them, what suits their lifestyle, what is kind of suited to them in a nutshell. And sometimes they overcomplicate it, and it's as simple or as hard as you make it.
Well, I do question and answers in my own group. Remember, like I'm dealing with runners kind of mainly, but a lot of them are there. They're like, I don't know how many times I have to answer questions like, which potato should I have, sweet potato or white potato? And it's like, well, you're 2 stone overweight, so it doesn't really matter which potato you have, to be honest. It's like
that's so true. That's so true.
Eat less chips, number one. Yeah, like have an actual potato, and then just carry. It doesn't matter what color it is, which is kind of like oversimplifying it. But I remember someone told me ages ago. It's like people that imagine like a jar of stones or pebbles, and people are trying to kind of fill a jar. You could throw in the big rocks first, and then fill it with the little pebbles. But too many people try and fill it with the little pebbles first, I think.
You wouldn't believe what's after happening right now. The battery on the... Please God, don't have turned off. Yes! That was a major success, and there was no editing on this podcast. What an absolute beauty.
What were you doing? Just binning all your potatoes?
Yeah, the white potatoes, they're out.
Yeah. No, I get why people ask those questions, because you go on social media and people are and you're bombarded with kind of info, but it's all people are trying to impress you with their knowledge rather than just kind of give you the simple stuff, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's sometimes we're actually information overload, yet we're knowledge lacking. If you use the current knowledge that you have, such as making a healthier food choice, making a better food choice for you, you would improve on that. Putting into practice the information that you know. Like people are like, oh yeah, I think I'll just have the fry and I won't decide to choose to have the likes of a single ingredient overnight oats or something that I recommend to people that contains what a single ingredient food. Add the likes of your berries, which are then your natural sweetener full of antioxidants, add a complete protein source, whether that be the likes of adding seeds, mixing your grains of the oats and the nuts, or eggs is another option, a simple one that most people go, oh yeah, never thought of eggs, or I don't usually typically have eggs in the morning. Like these are simple things, but putting them into practice is kind of key. And
Yeah.
you can't get the benefit of something that you don't do.
I think it's like I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old now, and I always think of like, well, kind of, what would you give your 4-year-old, or what would I give my 4-year-old? The ideal is to give them single ingredient stuff, basic stuff, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes, if you're really busy, I get it, life is really busy, you'll just throw them a fucking pancake or something. Yeah, because it's quicker. But the majority of the week, I want to chop them up some carrot and give them some berries and give them like some yogurt or whatever. But yeah, and keep it simple. But they don't have meals, they just have lots of single stuff thrown together on a plate. Yeah, so I don't know why people want to. I know, like, I'm a parent as well, and I've got a business, so like using the time thing doesn't really fly with me that much, because there's so many ways around the time issue. It's just planning usually. Yeah, it's just prioritizing it. If you're really that bothered, you're just gonna have to prioritize it to a little point and kind of just upskill yourself knowledge wise. You can't, if you're a grown adult, you can't just use the excuse of I've got no time and I don't know what to eat. It's not valid anymore.
That's a brilliant thing. Yeah, so what you would give your 4-year-old. You still there?
Yeah, you break it up.
Breaking up just a little bit, which is not what I'm looking for. Is what's the quality like now? I hope it's improving. Oh, tell me we're back on. It's an absolute nightmare. Not to worry. What we'll do is I can try stop it and record it. 1 sec. What's your internet quality like?
I've got mobile. It's only on mobile. I'm in the sticks.
Right. What we can do there is.
That's all right.
My internet, it looks like it's pretty good too. What's the quality like now?
Yeah,
oh, we're back on. We had small technical difficulties. We sorted it out. Gary is back on. He's improved his signal. Thanks be to God.
Sorry, I'm on mobile data because it's I'm in the sticks, so we can't even get proper internet line here. Yeah.
He does live in the sticks. That is all right. We're talking about single ingredient foods and the likes of a quote or even a point that you touched on. Like, what would you give your 4-year-old kid? There's another one that you shouldn't eat and consume foods that your granny wouldn't eat, right? She eats vegetables.
Come on, don't know about that. You didn't know my granny.
All right. We'll stick to the 4-year-old analogy. That seems much better.
Yeah.
Each to their own. In relation to training, Gary, do you do much like weight resistance style training, or what kind of training do you do?
I didn't used to. When I first got into running, it was mainly because I did some running in school. It was okay, but then I fell into football, and my friends played football. But yeah, it was really when I got isolated a little bit, when I moved to the city for work, Manchester, didn't have any money, couldn't afford to join a gym or anything to keep fit. So I just started running down the canal, up and down for miles. But I started losing a ton of weight, and I was like, I've never been big anyway. So there was just nothing of me through this running. That's when I kind of, basically started kind of like, I need to do something about that. Just losing muscle as well through running. And as you knew more and more, and I picked up some injuries and things, then I just started getting in the gym more. I've got a really good physio, and it was my physio rather than anyone else that got me in the gym. And then like you say, my business is run strong because a lot of it is based on preventing the injury and just health in general. I still go to the gym. Well, I've got a gym in the garage now because I moved away from the gym. But yeah, I encourage everyone to get in the gym as much as possible. So it's still a big part of what I do. Really, I don't enjoy it like I enjoy the running, but it's just I enjoy it because I know it's going to keep me injury free, and I know it's good. It's good sometimes rather than running and it's pissing down with rain. I can just jump into the garage and do a couple of squats and deadlifts and things, and I feel like I've done something then.
That's so interesting. I'd be the total flip opposite of that.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy running as much. I much prefer resistance style training. However, I know it improves my endurance and my my quality of life. So I kind of try to do a bit of a balance, or I do weights resistant first, and the people on myself and then the people that I train as well. So to get the best of both worlds, because people often say, "Oh, Coleman, yeah, what's better? What's better, cardio or is it resistance weight training?" And then both has their benefits, and if you can do both, why not? Yeah.
It's like if I want to be a runner, I like there's no substitute for running, but it's kind of if you keep breaking down as a runner, then there's reasons for it. It's like if I'm helping someone rehab with a tendon injury, it's like strength that's where you fix that injury. It's through getting in the gym and doing the work in the gym, really.
Building up the muscle, whatever. Yeah, a point in relation to runners, and typically get asked is the likes of running shoes, lower back pain, and shin splints. Are those typical questions you get asked, or could you give information? Or Yeah,
well, I get asked a lot because I attack a lot of people on. Well, attack, that's the wrong word. Yeah,
you're a big beast of a man.
Well, yeah. So a lot of people put out misinformation about running, the same as they do in diet and everything. But in running, especially, not really the same amount of people. It's not the fact that you're calling them out. It's just things like gait analysis and running shoes to fix certain kind of you call them injuries and niggles and things like this. They're just it's a lot of marketing behind it. So I took it upon myself to basically take the science and then tell people in simple terms why they probably don't need to be listening to these things. When it comes to running shoes, there's not many running shoes aren't going to help an injury, as in directly. It's usually due to training load, maybe your running form and things like this, and your strength in relation to what your body can cope with in recovery. It's not what shoes you've got on usually. Even though the shoe business would have us believe that. That's why kind of gait analysis came in into shops. But you need to remember where you are. You're in a running shoe shop. So any gait analysis done in there is going to point you to whatever they've got on the wall, isn't it? So, yeah.
Well, that's a good point in that in relation to it works in nutrition and food as well, because in supplements, people kind of go, what supplements do I need to take? All right. What shoes do I need to wear? What gym gear help me run or lift heavier weights faster? Like that might get you from the 90 to a 99%. But the whole thing about it is you do the simple things, the simpler, the easier things, getting to the gym, getting your runs in, doing these on a regular basis. That's the 90%. That's the bulk of the stuff you need to be focused on before you're worrying about whatever type of gym shoes or whatever type of gym clothing or supporting grips on your hands or the likes. What current shoes do you wear, or do you recommend, or is there
shoes wise? No, I have a wide range. So like I say, like my background when I first got into it was human movement and people that were doing all this barefoot stuff. But I didn't take it as that for running. I kind of live my day-to-day life in like Vivo barefoot shoes, if you've heard of them. They're like the Vibram things, but they're just barefoot shoes.
Your toes going to each individual.
That's what they're similar to that, but they're not the same thing. So they are like a shoe, but there's basically no support on the shoe. So it's as close as you can get to walking barefoot. It's just protection against like rocks or fucking needles or wherever you are. It's like you don't want to be like we're still in a modern world. You're daft if there's people running the length of Britain barefoot. It's like you need to. We're in the modern world. You can't just walk barefoot. So there is I can't. What was the question? What shoes have I got? Yeah, so I've got those. So I'm a massive fan of, if you can't do like people call it like functional training and things, but if you can't sit down like into a squat position, and as a runner, you really need that because it's all about the ankle flexion and your hip mobility and things like this. So if you take people right back, if you can't do that simple human squat movement, then you start there. And that starts with shoes. If you just wear barefoot shoes, that's 1 times your body weight going through your feet, which kind of makes your feet a bit stronger. If you think every time you wear shoes, and people wear trainers that fit the shoe rather than the other way around. So running shoes and things, they're like the tools that you would wear for running, but running is what, for most people, a couple of % of your week. So you need to look outside of running, how to kind of fix your feet and things like that.
Yeah, isn't there kind of a technique that they're supposed to, you tell me better than this, is what I'm asking you. There's a heel striking and then there's a mid-foot kind of a striking action. What's that in relation? Could you expand on that?
People will call it heel striking, mid-foot, or even forefoot striking. And it's all kind of born from, well, there's books out called Born to Run, right? Which is, anyone who's an ultra runner will have read this. And it's a guy that kind of ended up ditching his trainers, running barefoot and all this kind of thing. What people missed is he spent most of the time injured, kind of thing.
They left out that part of the book.
Yeah, just taking your trainers off doesn't fix you. It'll probably knacker your Achilles and your calf and things like this. There's no best way to run. That's just like, if you talk to any of the top science and biomechanics, there's no best way to run, even though people are looking for that. But there's some, you'd call them like red flags. If your foot lands underneath your head every time that it lands, you're probably going to be okay, right? So if it's landing a little bit out in front or a little bit behind, then that could cause issues. Not necessarily, it doesn't always, but people have kind of attacked heel striking for being a bad thing for the last 10, 15 years. But the East Africans, the top runners in the world, they all heel strike, okay? The majority of them heel strike. And these new Nike trainers that are coming out and changing the world of running, they've got a heel of like 40 mil on them. So we've kind of come full circle now. So there's no, it's not how your heel lands or how your foot lands. It's just where it lands. And more importantly, what happens after that, that matters really. What happens is people, there's an old term, it's like they call them human zoo animals. So most people sit in an office all day. Yeah. So they go in this seated position and then they drive home and they sit in their sofa. So they never sit in that functional squat that kind of keeps the ankle flexion, keeps the hips moving. So they go and run, they have this weird kind of gait cycle. But when we were kids, when you go to a school and watch kids, then watch.
What did you do?
I'm not recommending everyone does this, but if you go and watch a school full of kids running around, everyone runs perfectly. Yeah. So once you go to high school and sit in chairs, and then you get into your office job and you hit 30 and decide, right, fucking hell, I'm going to enter a marathon, and then wonder why you look like an epileptic donkey running down the road, because you've sat in a chair for 15 years. Yeah. Everyone could run perfectly at the age of 5 to 10 kind of thing. But we just lose that skill. So it was kind of my job in the early days to give people back that skill and run like a kid, like a child again. Yeah.
That's a very important point. Is there tips that you could give, even 5 major tips, or even tips to beginner to intermediate runners, if you know what I mean?
So there's people kind of put a big emphasis on run cadence, which is basically how many steps you take in a minute as a runner. Okay. Now, people do put too much emphasis on it, but what I will say is, if you can do a simple test, so just time yourself for a minute and how many times one foot or one leg hits the floor. So you count your left leg, how many times does that hit the floor in that 1 minute? That will give you a number. If you times that by 2, if you've got 2 legs, that gives you your cadence. That gives you a cadence number. So it will range from anywhere from like 140 up to 190 to 200 maybe. If you're between 170 and 185, you're probably fine. If it's below 170, then you could probably do with increasing this cadence, which is basically your stride rate. Yeah. So to increase the stride rate, the biggest mistake then people make is to just run faster, because your brain will just go, I'll just run faster. But then you just have a bigger stride and you emphasize the problem. So you shorten up the stride at the same pace, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I actually hadn't previously heard of that before.
Mm. So you can shorten up the stride. A lot of the thing is, remember, we run because of our environment. We run wrong, call it that, because we spend our life in shoes and sitting in chairs. So in other cultures, like in Mexico, India, where they still just sit in a squat, like without a chair, you tell them to squat 10 times, they'd look at you funny. But if you tell them to sit down 10 times, they would just drop. Do you know what I mean? And if you think of that human squat, like when a baby does it, because when you like you function, you crawl and then you squat, then you walk, then you run. We've made up this middle ground of jogging, call it, yeah, which is the overstriding, leaning from the waist and all this kind of stuff. So if you lean from the ankle, but you need ankle flexibility for that, and then you shorten up your stride kind of thing, and then just relax. I always teach people how to relax. They're the three big ones that you need to do, really.
Brilliant. Recap of those is increase your stride or time your stride.
So think of it this way. So you need to shorten up and quicken your stride without getting faster. Yeah. So say your number is 140 or 150 in a minute, your cadence, then you could ideally end up with being 170 to 180. You can download something called a metronome app, just free on an iPhone or whatever. And it's like a musician would usually use it, but you set it to 170 and it will just beep, 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 beep in your ear, which, don't go doing it for hours, but it will. That's a good way. If I was going to coach someone one-to-one, it would be, right, stick this metronome in your ear and just match the beep for 30 seconds and then go without the beep and then do it again. And then it will change, but a lot of this stuff is through drills and things like this. Yeah. It's very difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult to fix how you run when you're actually running. So it's a bit like, when was the last time you saw yourself run? Nobody knows what they look like. But if I showed you what you look like, you could probably quite quickly kind of change some of those things. You'd go, fucking hell, yeah, I'm definitely like bending from the waist too much, or I'm overstriding too much. It's a bit like swimming. People will go to a swimming coach and they will film them and they'll go, God, I look awful. But they can quite quickly correct some simple errors. So the best thing I can tell people is to get someone to film them. It doesn't have to be, it can be anyone, because as soon as you see that feedback of yourself running, you can usually correct a few things.
That's very similar in the likes of your weight training, resistance style training. So
Yeah.
people don't realize how or what way the form is when they're doing a squat, whether they're doing a dumbbell bicep curl, which is a common, extremely common, where they swing and they'd swing half the dumbbell up above their head and they go, oh yeah, so that's what I'm doing wrong. And before you even tell them anything, they go, yeah, that doesn't look right.
Yeah. You can just having people forget that feedback that you get from seeing yourself is really important. And again, coaching's gone down the line of, like, I've seen coaches try and explain something for 30 minutes instead of either demonstrating it or just seeing what it looked like in the first place. Like, you'll know it if you're trying to teach someone how to deadlift or something or squat. It's the kind of basic fundamentals are pretty simple. So you just get them to do it and then show them what they're doing. And you tell me what's wrong, kind of thing. Yeah, it's usually a lot easier that way.
No, they're super tips, I have to say, for sure. Right, we're going to do a couple of quick fire get to know you questions just to finish up the podcast. All right.
Yeah.
In relation to yourself, do you have any piece of information that you have now that you wish you had in your 20s, per se? It doesn't have to be fitness related.
In my 20s, I don't know. I spent a long time, I guess, trying to be a bit more professional when I first came into personal training and stuff. Because I just went straight into the gym floor with a load of professional personal trainers, and everything's professional. Well, I'm the least professional person in the world, kind of thing. I kind of work hard and I hope I know enough to help people. But yeah, as soon as I started being myself a bit more and just a bit more relaxed, things were 10 times easier. And I work with people that kind of, it's not that being ultra professional is a bad thing. It's just, it doesn't really suit my kind of coaching style, and the people that work with me then end up being people that I want to work with as well. So it's probably that, because I ended up working with a load of people that were just, we didn't kind of, well, we clashed, put it that way. Yeah.
No, that's a brilliant point. The more natural you are, the more comfortable you are, the more help you can provide to people. And that, I'll be asking for your hashtag or your Instagram handle so people can, and the listeners can go straight over and follow you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all sitting in front of it, giving out information in the black and white, because that's boring and people don't like boring, and people won't take, a lot of people can't take that on board. You see, people will follow people that they like. If they like consuming that information just in a list format, there's a way, or a natural funny way that you put it across, and I put myself into that bracket too as well, in weight training and making those food choices. It doesn't have to be just make sure you have porridge for breakfast, make sure you're eating your vegetables. It's just like, make it a little more entertaining, that people will enjoy listening to you and your content. Like,
and I get that people aren't, like, you don't have to be great in front of the camera or anything. If writing's your thing, you can write, but you can also write in a more relaxed style as well, and make it more interesting that way, make it story based and things like that. I used to love writing stories, so as soon as I started writing my content in that kind of way, like my blogs, like before Instagram and Facebook, if you were writing a blog, it would just be a story rather than kind of, like the usual fact sheet or whatever. Yeah,
no, it's good. All right, me being an organic horticulturist and growing my own vegetables, what's your favorite vegetable?
Favorite vegetable?
You can't say chips.
No. Well, do you know what? I love a carrot. I do. Yeah. I just love carrot, beetroot. Like, I like roasted veg. Like Sunday lunch roasted veg.
Really brings out the flavour, and super.
Yeah, like garlic thrown over and then a bit of chili, maybe something like that. Yeah, I like a bit of heat in the veg. Yeah.
Chili, you said you were actually, just before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it up here now. I was talking about growing your own, and then Gary goes, "Oh, geez, yeah, I can't even grow chili."
I'm always impressed by people that can grow and just keep things alive. Like, I've managed to keep 3 things alive, right? My dog and my 2 kids. Everything else has fucking died. I've gone through, like, my friends moved to New Zealand about 10 years ago, and they bought us a chili plant, and I've had to buy about 5 chili plants since, because I can't keep the thing alive. It's like I'm spending a fortune on chili plants because then they get in touch, like, how are those chilies doing? Yeah, great, yeah. It's just
that's so funny. And chilies will be one of the easier crops to grow. But I'll give you a couple of tips after.
It's gone now. Yeah, it was in the kitchen window for a while, but
It's dead.
I think my wife's put it somewhere. I don't know. Yeah, but I used to be. Yeah, I like growing up. I was obsessed with growing tomatoes, sunflowers, all the usual stuff. Yeah, I can't keep things alive. I haven't got the. I'm not disciplined enough in that kind of area, I think.
That's funny. Right, I just finished up on what Instagram influencers or people that you follow would you recommend other people to follow per se? Do you not know or follow anyone?
Who would I recommend to follow?
Yeah.
There's no one really, just me.
Just you. That's fine. That's a great fucking answer.
I'm not massive into Instagram, but obviously, like Brian Keane and things, I've managed to get a bit closer with Brian. Brian's great. He puts out, not also good content, but he obviously gets great conversations with people. Martin McDonald, if you're looking for nutrition stuff.
Super fun.
He's really basically clever. In the running world, it's difficult. The influencers are all just basically, not worth following. You're better off following just your friends.
That's the best answer I've got. Your people going, oh yeah, so and so. Like, that's the truest answer we're going to get here, I think, on this podcast.
Follow your friends, and then the rest. That's it, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, Gary. Before we finish up, I just want you to tell the listeners where's the best place for them to find you. All right, if they ever want to hook up with you and prove they're running, or you give them your handles there now. Okay.
I live in North Wales.
Online coach.
Yeah, Instagram Gary House _ I think it is at the minute, and on Facebook it's Run Strong. Yeah, but they're the main two places I guess you can find me. Yeah.
They're the main two places. Right,
Yeah,
Gary,
I
you
do
want
lots
to
of
say?
Q&As on the Instagram, so it's kind of I like interacting on there. So if send me messages or answer questions, things like that. I have a lot of fun on there. Yeah.
Super stuff. And if you're not currently following Gary, I highly recommend it. He's not only giving out quality information, but he's entertaining as well. He makes it fun, he makes it enjoyable, and that's what I think it's all about: doing things that you enjoy and you can be consistent with. All right, Gary, thanks very much for coming on to the podcast, man.
No worries. Yeah.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.